Hello, welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving right into episode 12, The Smell of Blood, of the story Shadow Slave. And wow, we are dropping right into a deeply tense, honestly, unbearable crossroads. The young soldier Gregor literally holds our protagonist Sonny's life in his hands. The dynamic between our trio has reached an absolute breaking point, and you can practically feel how suffocating the tension in the air is.
They are trapped in a brutal zero-sum reality. 3 men, 1 must die so the other 2 can survive. And the older slave, Frazier, well, he is all too happy to offer Sonny up as the sacrificial lamb. I mean, imagine being in Sonny's shoes right now. He's unarmed, completely unskilled, and entirely at the mercy of a heavily armed soldier. Sonny is just waiting there like a coiled snake, his heart hammering violently against his ribs, fully expecting Gregor and Frazier to gang up on him at any second. The suspense of not knowing what's going on behind Gregor's shimmering, unreadable eyes is just agonizing.
And then the silence finally breaks. Gregor speaks, but he looks at Frazier and asks, "Why him? From what I see, you are far closer to the grave." For Sonny, this massive wave of relief breaks in his chest. He isn't dead yet. There's actually a real chance Gregor might side with him. But, this relief is incredibly short-lived. That single question instantly ratchets up the tension because it forces Frazier to defend his position and justify exactly why the younger boy should be the one to die.
Now, Frazier doesn't just throw out empty words. He meticulously builds a lethal case against Sonny. First, he points out that Sonny is already bleeding from the commanding officer's whip. Second, during the recent monster attack, he was totally drenched in the blood of a fellow slave. And third, he's wearing a cloak that is completely soaked in the blood of its previous owner. Frazier's logic is terrifyingly solid. Sonny absolutely reeks of blood, and out here in a wild monster-filled environment, that scent puts all of them in severe, immediate danger.
As Frazier lays all this out, Gregor's expression just grows darker and darker. Finally, he looks over at Sonny with this dangerous light shining in his eyes and says, "His logic is sound." Imagine the sheer dread of this moment. Sonny literally feels the blood in his veins freeze. Cold sweat runs down his spine. He tenses up, entirely expecting to fight for his life, because Gregor seemingly completely agrees with Frazier's lethal logic. But then, we get this massive, whiplash-inducing twist. Gregor unsheaths his sword, the smile completely disappears from his face, and he begins radiating this thick, palpable killing intent toward Frazier. He says, "However, you failed to account for one thing. It's that I know who you are, Your Grace. I also know what you've done and how you ended up a slave." Gregor reveals that he actually knows about Frazier's revolting past crimes, and these are crimes so heinous that just one of them is enough to make Gregor want to execute him on the spot. Up until now, Gregor has been characterized by a really calm, noble, and graceful demeanor. But in the blink of an eye, that is completely replaced by inhuman barbarism. Frazier desperately tries to argue that Sonny still smells like blood, and Gregor simply smirks, saying he'll make Frazier bleed enough to cover the set. With a speed that seems almost unnatural, Gregor lunges. He strikes Frazier's leg with the flat of his sword, breaking it instantly. And without giving him even a single second to recover, Gregor stomps right on Frazier's other leg. That sickening crunch of shattering bones completely destroys our previous image of the young soldier. The aftermath of this violence is chilling, to say the least. Gregor drags the mortally wounded, sobbing Frazier down the path and behind a rock outcropping. Sonny is left entirely alone on the desolate trail, totally paralyzed by shock and trembling uncontrollably. He is forced to just stand there and listen to the terrible, agonizing screams echoing through the howling wind. The sheer brutality and ruthlessness of Frazier's sudden demise, and the realization that this level of barbarism was always lurking beneath Gregor's noble surface, well, it leaves Sonny utterly horrified.
But what happens next is arguably even more disturbing. A few minutes later, the screaming abruptly stops, and Gregor comes back, acting as though absolutely nothing has happened. He sorts through the supplies, casually throws some firewood over his shoulder, nonchalantly turns to Sonny and just says, "Let's go, we need to hurry." It's exactly this complete and utter normalcy, this crazy ability to switch from a brutal executioner right back to a calm traveling companion in an instant, that unnerves Sonny the most.
As they continue their walk in silence, a strange melancholy kind of descends upon them. Gregor, who's walking ahead without even bothering to look back, tries to clear the air. He tells Sonny not to feel guilty, claiming the decision was his alone. He says, "Just trust me when I say that killing him was an act of justice." Sonny just bites his lip in silent hatred. He hates the total hypocrisy of it all. People like Gregor are always trying to rationalize their actions, desperate to maintain this illusion of righteousness, even while committing the absolute foulest, most brutal acts.
Their descent into darkness is perfectly mirrored by the actual environment around them. They travel as the sun sets, painting this harsh world into a million shades of crimson. This slowly transitions into a beautiful but freezing vermilion sky with the stars and moon revealing themselves. Finally, to hide from a mysterious beast roaming nearby, Gregor forces them to camp in a well-concealed, narrow crevice that opens into a small cave. And crucially, they have to do this without a fire. They are plunged into a freezing, pitch-black cave, perfectly setting the stage for a deeply tense psychological standoff.
In the absolute darkness of the cave, the roles subtly reverse. Sonny, our protagonist, can actually see perfectly well in the dark, but Gregor, the deadly soldier who just murdered a man without even breaking a sweat, is now completely blind. In the darkness, Gregor's face looks noble but sorrowful. Sonny sits across from him, absolutely refusing to sleep, acutely aware of the dangerous, unpredictable enigma sitting just a few feet away.
Then, Gregor breaks the silence with a really eerie observation. "You know, it's strange," he says softly. "Usually I can feel someone's presence, even in absolute darkness. But with you, there's nothing. It's like you are just one of the shadows." This admission from a highly trained soldier highlights something inherently different and mysterious about Sonny. It adds this thick layer of supernatural tension to a situation that was already incredibly fraught.
The absolute darkness, the shared trauma of the day, and the quietness of the cave create a bizarre kind of intimacy between them. Sonny, who almost never speaks to Gregor, feels his heart pounding loudly in his chest. He realizes how few options he really has. If he falls asleep, he's completely vulnerable to this slaver, this man who just murdered Frazier in the blink of an eye. This strange intimacy in the dark is what finally gives Sonny the desperate courage to break his silence. He has to know where he stands.
So Sonny looks at the man who holds his life in his hands and asks the burning question that has been haunting him. "Are you waiting for me to fall asleep before you kill me, or will you do it in the morning?" It is an incredible cliffhanger that leaves us questioning everything about Gregor's true motives and Sonny's real chances of survival. If you like the story, please like and share it, and subscribe to the channel to watch future episodes. Thanks for watching.